Ever blame yourself for not doing more for your family, for not being there enough, for not calling more, for not fixing what was broken, even when you were doing everything you could, even when you were just a child, even when you had nothing left to give? There's this voice that whispers, you should have done more. You should have known. You should have been stronger. You should have saved them somehow. And maybe you're here tonight because that voice is loud. Or maybe it's quiet, but it never really goes away. It sits in the background of your life, this low hum of blame, this constant questioning. Was it my fault? Logically, that it wasn't. People have told you it wasn't. You can even argue the case yourself. List all the reasons why you couldn't have changed what happened. But knowing something and feeling something are not the same thing. And in your body, in that deep place where logic doesn't reach, you still feel responsible. You carry blame that was never yours to carry. And you've been carrying it so long that your arms are tired. Tonight, we're not going to try to talk you out of it. We're not going to fix it or solve it. We're just going to sit here, with you, with this weight. Because maybe no one's ever just sat beside you while you felt this, without trying to make it go away. You might notice this happens in small moments. Someone's upset, and immediately your mind scans. What did I do? Even if you weren't in the room, even if it has nothing to do with you. There's this automatic assumption that if something's wrong, you're the reason. It's not a choice you're making. It's faster than choice. It arrives before you can think, and then you spend hours, sometimes days, replaying moments, searching for proof, trying to find the exact second where you failed. You rewrite conversations in your mind. You imagine what you should have said differently, should have been different. Even when people tell you it's not your fault, there's a part of you that doesn't believe them. Not fully, because believing them would mean letting go of control. And the guilt, as heavy as it is, gives you something to hold on to. It tells you, if this was your fault, then you could have prevented it. If you could have prevented it, then the world makes sense. And maybe that feels safer than the alternative. The alternative being, sometimes things happen that you couldn't control. Sometimes pain enters, and you didn't cause it. Sometimes you're just there. But that thought, that you're not the center of what went wrong, can feel more terrifying than the guilt itself. Because the guilt tells you that you matter, that your actions have weight, that if you'd just been better, smarter, quieter, louder, something, then everything would have been different. You might notice that you apologize a lot, for things that don't require apology, for existing in a way that might inconvenience someone, for taking up space. And when people say you don't need to apologize, you probably apologize for apologizing. There's this pattern where you scan rooms for tension. You read faces, trying to detect if someone's upset. And if they are even slightly, your body tenses. Your mind starts working. How do I fix this? How do I make them okay again? Even when it's not your job. Even when they haven't asked. Even when their feelings have absolutely nothing to do with you. You've become responsible for other people's emotional states. Not because you're controlling, but because somewhere, somehow, you learn that their pain is your problem to solve. And if you can't solve it, you've failed. This feeling might show up at family gatherings. You're watching everyone, making sure no one's uncomfortable, making sure conversations don't get tense, stepping in to smooth things over before conflict can surface. You're managing the room, managing the emotional temperature, and you're exhausted. But you can't stop, because if you stop, something might go wrong. And if something goes wrong, you'll blame yourself for not preventing it. Or maybe it shows up when someone you love is struggling. They're going through something difficult, and you feel this crushing weight. I should be doing more, even if you're already doing everything. Even if what they're going through has nothing to do with you. You feel guilty for not fixing it, for not having the right words, for not being enough. Notice if your chest feels tight reading this. Notice if there's a familiar ache somewhere in your body. That's the weight of responsibility that was never yours. Your body has been holding it for so long, it's learned to expect it. It's become part of how you move through the world. This constant scanning, this constant readiness to take the blame. There's often a moment in childhood where this starts. Not always dramatic, not always obvious, Maybe you were small, and something in your home was wrong. The tension was thick, and no one named it. But you felt it. And children, when they feel something wrong that no one explains, they do something very specific. They make it about themselves. Because if it's about them, then maybe they can fix it. Maybe you walked into the kitchen and saw your mother's face tight with something you didn't understand. And you thought, I did that. I made her sad. Or maybe someone was angry, and the anger filled the house, and no one told you why. So you decided, it must be me. I must have done something. And maybe once you asked, and the answer you got was impatience, or silence, or worse, confirmation. If you just behaved, if you'd just been quiet, why can't you ever just? So you learned, when things are wrong, look inward first. That became the pattern, the reflex. You didn't choose it consciously. You absorbed it, the way you absorb language, or how to walk. It became part of your wiring. And maybe you grew up in a place where blame was always looking for somewhere to land. And children are soft targets, easy to blame, too small to argue back effectively. So you carried it. You became the place where blame could rest. And over time, you got so used to it that you started doing it to yourself. Even when no one else was blaming you, you'd do it for them. Because at least if you blamed yourself first, you had some control over it. You could manage it. You could predict it. Other people's anger was chaotic, unpredictable, but your own guilt, that you could carry, that you could shape. Maybe there was a time when your family was struggling financially, or emotionally, or both. And even though you were a child, even though you had no power to change the circumstances, you felt responsible. You thought, if I was better, if I needed less, if I was quieter, easier, more helpful, maybe things would be okay. Maybe you watched your parents argue and thought, this is because of me, because I exist, because I need things. And maybe you try to make yourself smaller, try to need less, try to be invisible so you wouldn't add to the burden. But it didn't work, because their struggles weren't about you. They never were. But no one told you that. Or if they did, you couldn't believe it, because your nervous system had already decided you were the problem. Or maybe someone in your family was sick, or struggling, or absent. And you, even as a child, felt like you should have been able to help, should have been able to make them better, or happier, or whole. You replay moments, even now, times when you could have called, could have visited, could have said something different. And you blame yourself for not knowing what you couldn't have known, for not doing what you weren't capable of doing. You were a child, or you were overwhelmed, or you were surviving your own pain. But your brain doesn't factor that in. It just points inward and says, you failed them. This pattern doesn't just live in memories. It lives in your present. You're still scanning for who needs you, still trying to be enough for everyone, still carrying the weight of other people's struggles as if they're yours to solve. And when you can't solve them, when life happens in ways you can't control, you blame yourself. You blame yourself for not preventing what you couldn't have prevented, for not fixing what wasn't yours to fix. And the exhaustion of this is real. The weight of it is real. If you need to pause this right now, that's okay. If your body is telling you this is too much, listen to it. You don't have to keep going. Not right now. Not ever. Here's something that might sound strange. The guilt you feel isn't a mistake your brain is making. It's not broken. It's not failing you. It's doing exactly what it learned to do to keep you safe. Let me say that again differently. Your nervous system learned that taking the blame was the safest option available. And it still believes that. When you were small and things were wrong, the people around you held all the power. They decided whether you were safe, fed, held, seen. If they were upset, your survival depended on making them not upset as quickly as possible. And one of the fastest ways to de-escalate someone's anger, take the blame. Make it your fault. Become small and apologetic and compliant. That stopped the danger. It made the anger go away, or at least soften. So your system learned guilt works. Self-blame works. It keeps you connected to the people you need. Even now, as an adult, when you don't need those people the same way, your nervous system hasn't updated the information. It's still running that old program. The one that says, if you take the blame, you stay safe. If you make it your fault, you stay in control. And there's something else. Guilt feels safer than anger, because anger means acknowledging that someone else did something wrong, that someone else harmed you, or failed you, or wasn't who you needed them to be. And when you're small, and those people are your whole world, you can't afford to be angry at them. If they're bad, and you need them, then where does that leave you? So instead, you make yourself bad. You make it your fault. That way, they can stay good. They can stay safe. And you can stay connected to them. Your brain chose guilt over anger because anger threatened the attachment. And attachment was survival. This wasn't weakness. This was intelligence. Your system made the smartest choice it could with the information it had. And even now, years later, your body still believes this is how you survive. By carrying blame, by making yourself the problem, by never pointing outward, only inward. That's not a flaw in you. That's your system trying to protect you the only way it knows how. Let me say this one more time because it matters. The guilt isn't random. It's strategic. Your nervous system is still trying to keep you attached to the people who matter. Still trying to keep conflict at bay. Still trying to maintain connection at any cost. Because disconnection to your younger self felt like death. And even though you're grown now, even though you can survive without those specific attachments, your body doesn't know that yet. It's still operating from the rules it learned when you were small and powerless and needed those people to survive. So when something goes wrong now, your system reaches for the tool it knows. Blame yourself. Make it your fault. Fix it before you lose anyone. That's not dysfunction. That's your system trying to protect you. And you can acknowledge that without having to keep doing it. You can say, thank you for trying to keep me safe. You did your job. You kept me alive. And now, maybe I can try something different. Not because the old way was wrong, but because the situation has changed. You're not that powerless child anymore. You have resources now. You have choices. And taking the blame isn't the only way to stay connected anymore. But your system doesn't know that yet. So it keeps reaching for guilt, keeps making you responsible, because that's what it learned. And it hasn't learned anything else yet. You might notice your body reacting to this. Maybe there's resistance. Maybe something in you is saying, but I am responsible. I should have done more. That's okay. That's the voice we've been talking about. The one that's been protecting you. You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to convince it. Just notice it's there. Notice how hard it's working. Notice how much it's trying to keep you safe. You don't have to stop doing this right now. You don't have to change this tonight or tomorrow or at all. If guilt is what your system reaches for, there's a reason. And you don't have to override that reason until you're ready. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe part of you isn't sure it's safe to stop blaming yourself yet. That's okay. That's allowed. You're allowed to keep doing what's kept you alive. There's no timeline here. No deadline. No grade you're trying to reach. If you never fully let go of this, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you survived. And survival doesn't always look like healing. Sometimes survival just looks like survival. I want to say this again. You don't owe anyone your healing. You don't owe it to yourself either. If staying in this pattern feels safer, you're allowed to stay. And if someday you're ready to try loosening the grip just a little, just to see what happens, that will be there when you're ready. But tonight, you don't have to be ready. You could just be here, with the guilt, with the weight of it. And maybe, just for a moment, you can notice that carrying it is exhausting. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because it was never supposed to be yours to carry in the first place. The things that happened to you, the things that went wrong, they weren't your fault. Even if your brain tells you they were. Even if it feels true in your body. The truth is, you were a child, or you were overwhelmed, or you were doing the best you could with what you had. And sometimes the people around you weren't doing their best. Sometimes they were struggling. Sometimes they were drowning. And they let their pain spill onto you. And because you were small or soft, or because you loved them, you absorbed it. You took it in and made it yours. But it was never yours. You're allowed to know that. Even if you can't feel it yet, you're allowed to consider, gently, that maybe the fault belongs somewhere else. Not as something you have to act on. Not as something you have to confront or speak about or process right now. Just as a quiet truth you can hold. Softly, in the background. The fault doesn't live in you. It never did. And if that thought feels uncomfortable or scary or wrong, that's okay too. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You can keep the guilt if it feels safer. You can hold on to it as long as you need. There's no pressure here. No one's asking you to let anything go. We're just sitting here, acknowledging what's true. The guilt you carry was a survival response. It was brilliant. It was adaptive. And you can honor that without having to keep carrying it forever. You can say, this served me. This protected me. This kept me connected when I needed connection. And maybe, someday, I won't need it the same way. Not today. Not tomorrow. Someday. Or maybe never. And that's okay too. If your body feels heavy right now, that's okay. If there's tightness in your chest or tension in your shoulders, you don't have to fix it. Notice if you can feel where you're sitting. The surface beneath you. The temperature of the air. You're here. You're present. You made it through this. Nothing is required of you after this. No action steps. No homework. No epiphany you need to have. You can just close this and go back to your night. Or you can sit here a little longer. Either one is fine. I want you to know something before we finish. The guilt you carry isn't who you are. It's something that happened to you. Something you learned. Something that got layered on year after year until it felt permanent. But it's not you. Underneath it, there's someone who is just trying to be safe. Someone who was doing their best to navigate a world that felt overwhelming or unpredictable or cold. And that person, young you, small you, the one who first learned to take the blame, they weren't bad. They were scared, or alone, or trying to make sense of things that didn't make sense. And they decided, if I make this my fault, at least I understand it. At least I have some control. That was brilliant. That was adaptive. That was the best solution available. And it's okay if you still do it now. It's okay if the pattern is still there. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't have to rush to outgrow it. It kept you alive. It kept you tethered. It kept you from falling apart when everything around you was breaking. And maybe someday, you'll be ready to set it down. Or maybe you won't fully. Maybe you'll carry a smaller version of it, just in case. That's okay too. There's no right way to do this. There's only what feels survivable. So if tonight, all you can do is sit with the knowledge that this isn't who you are, that the guilt is something you carry, not something you are, then that's enough. That's more than enough. You don't have to change. You don't have to heal. You don't have to become someone different. You can just be here, with yourself, with all of it. And if that's too hard, you can stop. You can close this. You can walk away. There's no obligation to keep going. Not tonight. Not ever. You've done enough. You've been through enough. And if the only thing you take from this is that someone understands why you do this, why your brain reaches for blame even when it doesn't make sense, then maybe that's something. Maybe that's a small, quiet kind of relief. You're not broken. You're not defective. You're someone whose system learned to protect you in the only way it could. And that system is still trying, still working, still doing its best to keep you safe. You can thank it if you want. You can tell it, I see you. I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to help. And then, gently, you can remind it, I'm okay right now. I'm safe right now. Not forever. Not always. Just right now. And for tonight, that's all we need. You can rest. You can stop trying to figure it out. The answers don't have to come tonight. You don't have to have it all sorted. You can just be with the guilt, without the guilt, somewhere in between. However you are right now, it's okay. You're okay, and I'm glad you're here. Before you go, I want to say one more thing. The blame you've been carrying for your family, for not doing more, for not being enough, it doesn't define you. You are not the sum of what you couldn't prevent. You're not the measure of what you couldn't fix. You were a person in an impossible situation, and you did what you could with what you had. That's all anyone can do. And if you're still here, still trying, still showing up, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, that says something about you. It says you're resilient. It says you care. It says you're doing your best, even when your best doesn't feel like enough. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Not to your family. Not to yourself. Not to me. You're already enough. Exactly as you are. With all the guilt, with all the weight, with all the exhaustion. You're still enough. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it to this moment. Whatever comes next, whether you feel lighter or heavier, whether anything shifts or everything stays the same, you're going to be okay. Not because you have to be, but because you've always been okay, even when it didn't feel like it. You've survived everything up until this point. Every moment that felt impossible. Every weight that felt unbearable. You're still here, and that matters. Take a breath if you can. Or don't. Just notice where you are right now. This moment, this room, this life you're living. It's not perfect. It's not what you might have wanted, but it's yours, and you're allowed to be in it. Without guilt, without blame, without carrying the weight of everything that went wrong. Just for tonight, just for now, you can rest.